beneficial. So hopefully you guys take mental notes and just take this information. I know we've got some parents in here as well, so please make sure you share this information with another parent of a student athlete. My name is Andrea Ekior, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. This is actually very passionate for me, just the whole sports venue. My son actually had an opportunity to play at the University of Alabama. Then he went on to, be with the Colts before his injury, and now he coaches at the University of Florida. So I'm going to do a plug. We have the offensive lineman here. Please take my number so I can get you guys if you want to play for the University of Florida, the Gators. But again, I want to make sure that everybody is tuned in because this is very important information with the rule changes. So please take note. Again, my name is Andrea Ekior, and I'm going to go ahead and let our panelists introduce themselves, and I'll start here from my right with Ms. Lomax.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosetta Lomax. I'm Assistant Vice President at Key Private Bank with Key Bank here in Central Indiana, and happy to be here.
My name is Darius Willis. I'm a former athlete at Indiana University, current founder and CEO of the Scouts team.
I'm Robert Falkins. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of the Indiana High School Athletic Association.
I'm Max Siegel. I'm the CEO of USA Track and Field. I'm going to put in a plug for offensive lineman. My son played at Notre Dame. He played in high school against their son. And just happy to be here, and hopefully we can give you guys some great information today.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Eddie Gill, former professional athlete as well. Played 12 years in professional basketball, 7 years in the NBA. 2 of those years were with the Indiana Pacers. And now I've been in a financial planning role with a company here locally called Invest. And I've been in this industry for about 11 years and looking forward to this opportunity here today. Thank you.
As you can see, we've got a heavy hitter, a loaded panel here. So I want to just dig right in. As far as understanding the rules, so I'm going to start with you, Robert. There's been some recent changes. So what changes have occurred as far as the landscape for student athletes, as far as NIL? If you could just kind of lead us in that direction.
Well, I don't think it's been as much of a change as it's been a clarification of what our expectations are and what you can and cannot do. First and foremost, NIL is not permissible in high school athletics in Indiana. And that's allowed by state statute as well as by our own rules. However, we also don't prohibit you from using the term name, image, and likeness to your benefit. What you can't do is sell those things that you don't own. In particular, I'll use Arsenal Tech as an example. You can say all you want about being Andrew Davis, football player, basketball player, baseball player, track star, to use to your benefit to get remuneration for your name, but you can't say Andrew Davis, Arsenal Tech. You can't say Andrew Davis, IHSAA state champion. That's the difference. We've long been allowed to use your person to make money. We don't disallow you to be commercial about it. What we don't allow you to do is sell those things that you don't own for your personal benefit. I hope that understands. An example, you can certainly, in your summer, be paid to give basketball lessons. You can be paid to give tennis lessons because of who you are, and people expect and know that you're able to do that. Your son, as a high school lineman, your son as a high school lineman could have used their station as being very good at being an offensive lineman to teach other kids to be offensive linemen and get paid for it. But they couldn't do it as a buff kid, or they couldn't do it as a cathedral kid. That's the difference. But the biggest difference between NIL, as you see it, and how we perceive it, at the collegiate level, NIL is pay for play, to our mind. You're paid to play the sport. Can't do that in high school. But you can use your name, image, and likeness to the extent that you can use that. If a restaurant wants to have you sell their whatever, and say on Sunday nights so-and-so's going to be here, you can do that. You can use your personal branding for that, for your own sake and for your own benefit. But again, I'll say this again, you cannot sell what you don't own. And you don't own the name Arsenal Tech. You don't own the name Cathedral. You don't own the name Buck Chestnut Preparatory Town. You go, Andrew Davis, I'm Andrew Davis, I'm doing this to Andrew Davis, you're good to go.
So I have a second question, Robert. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, now that Nike and these companies have gotten in bed with the high school athletes, so say kid, 5-star athlete, Nike wants to give him a shoe, Andrew Davis, Indiana, 5-star athlete, is that permissible?
Yes, but I would, you could jump in. I would caution all parents and all athletes, when you do that, get some representation. Yeah.
So I am a recovering lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 34 years. So I'm in the track space. I don't know if you guys have heard of Quincy Wilson, who's on my Olympic team, Tate Taylor, who's a high school athlete, Sha'Carri Richardson, who is very popular. They built their brand. And they built their brand, and the shoe companies often come in to identify them as potential star athletes, because many of them, look, on the Olympic level, most of the athletes, what people don't realize, are professional athletes. And they earn the majority of their money either through prize money or appearance fees and endorsements. So, how they manage their brand and how they attract attention and how they influence people. In fact, my daughter, who's sitting at the back of the room, was a college volleyball player at Howard, had NIL deals. And so the reality is, I will caution parents as well. It's a tremendous opportunity to get finances. It's a great platform to build awareness, but we've always put education first, and you really should make sure you have somebody looking at those deals to understand exactly what you're signing up for, what you might be giving away, and how that's going to benefit you long term. And frankly, you can structure some of those deals. Before NIL was big, Noah Lyles was signed in high school, and part of what Adidas did with Noah and his brother was said, listen, you may not be able to compete at the collegiate level, but we'll pay for your college education. So I would highly recommend having someone advise you on looking at those deals.
Eddie, did you have?
Yeah, and I'll come at it from a different lens, but certainly in the same sphere of education. You talk about the representation, make sure it's legitimate representation of people who have a reputable background, they've been vetted, and you've done proper research and due diligence on those individuals and how they go about, looking over your contract, and then also what type of fee associated with them doing that. There's a significant amount of due diligence that needs to be put into place there. But then as you look at, once you've done all of those things, what type of financial education do you have in place? Because you have a very small window to do something special for yourself if you've been able to achieve that type of success. I work with NIL athletes and professional athletes all the time from a financial standpoint in terms of how they protect themselves, how can they make a dollar grow, and certainly put money to work for them and make responsible decisions. Now, as a former professional athlete, I worked my tail off to get to the place that I wanted to get to, and at some time I wanted to treat myself. Well, there's a thing called moderation, right? And ultimately understanding that when you are in that space, you have the ability to do something special in a small time frame that most everyday individuals are trying to do between 20 and 65, where you may have the opportunity to do it between 17 and 25, if that makes sense to you, if you're fortunate to do that. So significant amount of financial education in terms of what I do and our firm does for the high schools, universities. We're the official wealth partner for the Colts. Had a conversation with about 20 rookies about a month or two ago. So I'm doing this all the time from an educational standpoint. I would strongly encourage you to do that if you have the opportunity to achieve some of these NIL deals.
Robert, I have a second question. What if an athlete violates that? What happens? What is their recourse?
If you violate, this is our amateur rule. If you violate the amateur rule, you're ineligible.
Wow. Indefinitely?
Completely.
Oh,
You have
wow.
to be reinstated as an athlete once you violate the amateur rule. So, and that's a very detailed process. It's at least a year of ineligibility, and it may be longer than that.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? I'm speechless. Darius, with you having Scout Sync, what have you seen in this landscape as far as marketing athletes here in the States and internationally?
Yeah, I come in from a different lens as well, definitely on the technology side. And one thing that we do is we make sure that we partner with the right companies who can vet financial advisors, agents, scouts, and coaches, because we sit at a great space because we're communicating every day with athletes, parents, scouts, coaches, and agents. And so it's important, like you said, with the representation, that we are doing the due diligence with you. All right, and so a lot of situations today on technology, not a lot of people understand what goes on behind the scenes, and they take these deals, they sign these contracts. We vet all that before you get started, and we partner with the right people who can help you throughout the process, whether that's from the recruiting, NIL, the scouting. And it's important now, young athletes, they have a digital presence, so it's your digital passport. I work with athletes, help athletes from all over the world get scholarships, sign contracts at different professional leagues. It's important to have digital presence and a passport, but doing it the right way and representing your family and standing true to what you do.
Okay, now I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Max, so just piggybacking off of what Robert said, so what if I am an athlete? What's the legal process of me setting up my brand or, making that money? And then I'm gonna follow up with you, Rebecca. How do I set up my banking account to funnel that money? How can you guys clear that up for me?
Yeah, what I see quite a bit in the landscape is that an athlete with the right advisor will typically set up an LLC or some kind of company that they are employed by or contract with, and the revenue goes through that. Some of the athletes, as they grow in terms of their stature and their influence, also will set up some kind of charitable foundation. And it allows them to do a couple things. It allows them on the commercial side to build their brand, but it also allows them, through giving back to the community, to do things from a charitable standpoint. I think that everyone on the panel kind of talked about being really intentional about building your brand and recognizing that what's different for you guys now than when we came up is you have social media. Once you put something out there, it doesn't really go away. And the first thing that people do when they want to either sign you to a deal, a coach wants to recruit you, a job wants to hire you, is they go to your social media to see what kind of person you are, who you're hanging out with, and those kind of things. So I think that as we talk about how you set it up and how you structure it, having great representation is really, really important. But I think all these things kind of go hand in hand with one another.
Rebecca, can you talk about that as far as when you do set up that LLC? What is the banking end of that?
Absolutely. So I come from a unique perspective in that I was a former Division I athlete, track and field, which I love. Know all those athletes that you mentioned. And I'll give you a little background because I think it helps when you're a financial professional talk. It really doesn't mean nothing if you don't really understand their journey to get where they are. I was the kid that was on the, free and reduced lunch, I needed that scholarship money. I needed somebody to give me some money to go to school because otherwise it wasn't going to happen. And I had a mentor who said, you need to get a full ride scholarship because back in the day, that was really the only option. And so that's what I did. I worked hard, like many of you in this room, you're working hard, you have a dream. Maybe you're the first in your family. I was the first to go to college and to finish. I was the first to go to graduate school and to finish track and field, paid for undergrad and graduate school. That's what I had. I'm a little jealous of y'all because y'all got this NIL opportunity. So you have great people represented on this panel today. Take notes because you really can change your life. I'm going to emphasize something he said because in my day-to-day job now, I work with people in their retirement. Every person I work with is a millionaire and I get to hear their stories. And if they had an opportunity like you where they could take what they worked for from 25 years old all the way to 65, 66 years old and squish it into being 17 and 25 and make that amount of money in that short amount of time, things would be so different. So you guys have such a great opportunity right now. But once you do get those deals and you do have that LLC set up and you have those advisors in your corner that are vetted and that are truly for you, hear that, they're truly for you, then you need a banker. You need a banker. You need advisors, right? It's your own personal board of advisors. That's where I come in. That's where my team comes in. where you actually go to a bank, you sit down, and it starts very simply. You take your parent, and you guys open that account. Your LLC is signed up. Who's heard of the Secretary of State? Anybody know what that is? Okay, those are things you need to know, because when you set your LLC up, you have to do it through your state. These are things when you sit down with your banker, they're gonna talk to you about that. Who knows what an EIN is? Yeah, you need to know what that is, right? If you're gonna set up your LLC, you gotta know what those things are. But that's where it starts, is sitting down with your banker, sitting down with your advisors, and setting up those accounts for yourself. I'm gonna say one more thing, just because it's the banker in me. Who knows what a 529 plan is? Well, that's important. Y'all need to take notes, put that in your phone, 529 plan, because that's another form that not everyone is going to get thousands of dollars to pay for school, but we're here to help you to set up for your future. That's gonna help you to invest, and your parents are gonna be happy about that account. But at the end of the day, having the right people in your corner, having those advisors to help lead you as you guys are planning for your future is really key. Eddie, did you want to speak to that, anything? In this financial space?
I'll make one comment. I think Rebecca did a fantastic job of articulating that entire process. But one of the best comments she made for me was taking notes. When I was in the NBA, we had what's called TAM meetings, team awareness meetings. I had a very immature mindset when I went to these meetings, because it was either a panel or they would have someone come in and talk about drug and alcohol abuse or investments, or pick a topic and they would have someone come in. I had two questions. Is there food there? And how long do I have to be there? Right? Incredibly immature mindset, right? So if someone in a leadership position decided it's important for you to be there and listen to an individual or a panel, take something from it and walk out of this door better than you were when you walked in. That would be my additional comment to that.
I love that. Robert, I do have a question. What pitfalls or problems do you anticipate that may happen with this new, well, not new, the information that we have now with it?
And that's a great question. I think just the change or just the awareness of it is going to be the biggest thing. And the adaptations of understanding what you can and cannot do. None of our rules have changed. It's just more now more public because it's much more frequent at the high school level than it was before. More high school kids are being paid and recognized, as Coach Mormon said before. Nike's going to come to you and say, we want you to rep our shoes. ASICS is going to come to you because you're a great cross-country runner and we want you to wear our shoes and make appearances for us. That's going to become much more prevalent, much more common. And you have to be aware of how you can do that and then what your responsibilities are. And then, again, get that reputation, because I've seen some of those contracts, and those contracts keep you with someone for 10, 12, 15 years. All right? Some of you aren't even 12, 15 years old. So you're going to be more than half your life branded to someone that just be careful about that. That's the biggest thing that we're going to have to work through immediately, is people understanding that whole scenario anymore. That's going to be different. It's going to be more prevalent, and we have to be more educated about how to adapt with it. And this is a great start.
I
It's absolutely a
know,
great start.
and I feel so uneasy about this. I feel sorry. But Max, what can a parent do to protect their athlete? I don't know.
First, I want to acknowledge this panel and this topic, because it's so important. So thank you for having it. And I want to echo what everyone else said. Please pay attention. Please take notes. And I will tell you that what embarrasses my kids sometimes is I'm pretty transparent, and I'm not trying to embarrass my daughter, but someone close to your age that's relevant to talk to. You know, parents should be actively involved, and parents should be aware of what's going on, and parents need to be able to have the hard conversations. Because what happens is we may be out of touch with what's happening in culture to you guys, but we're in touch with the people who are making those decisions on who's going to work with you and not. And parents can't be afraid to have hard conversations with coaches. You know, I'm a former athlete, and I'm in the sports business, and I'm a lawyer, so I have to manage being a dad and not trying to go at coaches and parents, but also someone with experience. You know, having that kind of relationship and feedback with you know, your young people and the people who are responsible. I mean, he's got such a tremendous responsibility, you know, overseeing this athletics, you know, for the entire state. And we got, you know, the IPS athletic director at the back of the room, you know, and so for me, I think just being present, I said, parenting has 3 P's for me: presence, patience, and prayer. Because when they don't do what you say, you got to pray about it. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to be present. And I think just being there, and whether you have experience in the area or not, parents have a lot of wisdom. I used to think the things that my mother said, who did not go to college, were crazy until I became a parent. And I was like, I really should have listened to my mother. But just having patience and not being afraid to ask those questions. I don't think any question's a dumb question. You know, most of us, I mean, we're first generation, so, you know, just to gain that knowledge is really critical to me.
This is something that has been bothering me. I know there's a lot of really great athletes coming up and they have like handlers. And they're getting like 20% and can you guys speak to that as far as being an athlete and maybe just having a coach saying, okay, I'm gonna be your handler or represent you?
Yeah, that's a great point. And to your point about being a parent, I think that's where parents come into play as well. I think about, you know, kind of the way I grew up. Born to 2 teenage parents, lost my father at an early age. We had no money. The only time we talked about money is when my mother said we didn't have any. That was my educational money, right? But she ran through the fire to make sure she was able to support myself and my brother. But ultimately, when you get into this space and have some of these opportunities, how do you identify and have some discernment around who actually has your best interest at heart, or are they trying to just jump on the wagon and take advantage of your elite skill set? And it's a difficult thing, right? So from a parental standpoint, you have to try to go out and seek professional guidance, people who that you can have some real research and real conversations with, to go out and be able to support your family. Otherwise, you do have the coaches or the AAU coach or whoever this may be, who tries to just latch onto it. So you have that, the people who have malicious intent, but then you also have people who do have really genuine intent around being there for you and guide you, but they may not have the educational knowledge of how to do that. So it's a double-edged sword to some degree, but ultimately conversations and education, I always go back to education in every aspect of it, whether it's financial, agents, whatever it may be, just trying to educate yourself really intentionally.
We did oh, go ahead.
So I too grew up without a father, and I want to speak to the coaches in the room, because my high school coach changed my life, because my high school coach was there when I didn't have people in my family who were there, and my high school coach was the first person that had me believe that I was as smart as I was athletically gifted. So that's a really important role, and oftentimes coaches do have more insight and influence than a lot of people in your life. I want to tell you a quick story about families. You got to be careful with families. Early in my career, I was a sports agent, and one of the college coaches asked me to represent a young man who had not met his father in his entire life, and he was projected to go in the first round of the NBA draft. And so when that became public, his dad, who he had never met, came back into his life and became his business manager. And so the dad came to my office, and we were literally getting ready to sign for me to represent this player. And we were going to go to lunch, and his college coach and the player was there, and the dad was there. And we were walking out to go to the restaurant, and the dad said, hey, can you excuse Max and I for a second? I want to have a conversation with him. So my player, the coach was a client of mine, so excited to have his dad in his life. They go out, and he came back into my office, and he took out a briefcase, and he said, hey, let me just tell you something. I got $50,000 worth of bills that you need to pay. And if my son finds this out, you will not represent him. And so to me, it was a dilemma, because here you have someone who, you know, you have this love for as a family member who did not have your best interest at heart. And frankly, it was that player's coach that helped him kind of navigate that and manage the relationship with the parent, and then at the same time, make sure that this young player got to where he needed to be. And he did go on to play in the league and was fairly successful. So I would just say the coaches occupy a unique space It's a really important relationship, and rely on your coaches as well too.
I know you skipped over to NIL deals, but the important part is, what about the character of the athlete, the preparation? Can we talk about that?
I can dive in on that bit. It's definitely important to be proactive. We deal with a lot of athletes, even the parent side, connecting that. It's important to take the time to go through the process. Don't skip it. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to be able to navigate it truly, as he was saying, who is on your side. I can tell you a situation of an athlete. So we've helped over 1,500 athletes get scholarships in the U.S. from globally. One of the athletes who was given support on a scholarship just didn't want to take a few minutes to fill out information. Scholarship is gone, it's on to the next person, just like that. And so just that little step of not doing anything changed the trajectory of that person's life. All right, so it's important, whether you're a parent, whether you're a coach, be proactive. I'm a coach, I've been a coach for 14 years, and I make sure that all the athletes, all of our coaches, we hold ourselves accountable because, like you were saying, we are a big part. All the coaches in my life were a big part of me, and that's going to be important for you, especially as the coaches, to make sure the athletes are there.
And Eddie, I know you said you put in the work. I want to speak to that, putting in the work. I know we're talking about deals and all the legalities, but I mean, if you're not to that space, I mean, it doesn't really matter. So talk about the preparation and the work that it takes to be that potential NIL deal athlete.
Yeah, nothing replaces the work. And you hear it time and time again, but couldn't be any more true. If you have, well, first of all, I'm 6'1" on a good day. The NBA there's not a lot of people 6'1" in the NBA, right? So there's an amount of work that you have to go out and address and be at the forefront of everything that you do. If you decide you want to skip steps or cut corners or those types of things, it essentially is just not going to happen for you. And you have this incredible opportunity to take advantage of. And I always share this too with athletes. There's so few of us, but there's also so many of us, right? So if you decide that you want to cut corners, have a bad attitude, be a bad teammate, not show up and do the work, it's so easy to move on to the next individual in terms of being able to go out and fill that spot. It's just easy to get done, right? Because there's so many of us for sure. But just being able to take advantage of those opportunities is incredibly important. The work and dedication, it just doesn't replace itself.
I also want to,
I just wanted to give some practical things that you all can do for readiness. I remember my freshman year of high school, I decided after that year I was going to be done with track and field because it just was too hard. It's a lot of work, just like you mentioned. And I had a coach who wanted me to start lifting weights. And as a girl, today it's kind of popular to be strong, but when I was growing up, it wasn't. And so I didn't want to lift too many weights because I didn't want to look too masculine. And so I slacked. I definitely cut some of those corners, and because of that, I didn't make state. And I missed out. And so I quit. When I came back because one of my friends, she put in the work and she made it to state. And it made me hungry. And if you're an athlete, you know what that means. When you know someone next to you, you can do better, it pushes you. And so I came back and I started weightlifting. I stopped skipping the mile warm-up that we have. These are practical things. You guys know when the coach is asking you to do something, if you're putting in 80% or if you're giving it 110%. And it takes that 110% every single time. And you know what happened that year? When I came back and I did what my coach was asking me to do and I gave 110%, I made it to state. And it was the first time I started getting those letters from universities who wanted to recruit me. So that work that's your job. Your coach creates the plan for you, but it's your job to put in 110%. Only you know if you're giving that. Additionally, how many of you guys pay attention to your nutrition? By a show of hands, wake up, raise your hands up. When you wake up in the morning, you pay attention to your nutrition? Right, so that's something that you have within your grasp as well. You guys have the internet. Are you drinking your water? Are you getting sleep? Are you eating your fruits and your vegetables? That sounds simple, but that's a part of the work, and it's that little bit that will set you apart.
I want to stay positive here, but I just think character is so important. And Max, you talked about that, the social media presence. But what qualities are companies, colleges are looking for in an athlete that could potentially be, you know, their brand ambassador? And that could be pretty for Max.
Couple of things. I have had the good fortune of owning a NASCAR team. So all the young drivers, if you follow Bubba Wallace, you know, young Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, they all drove for me. Daniel Suarez, I can look, Raja Caruth, and when you look at those young kids, the one thing that I saw was an incredible work ethic. They were great team players. All of them were like the first one at the race shop, the last one to leave. It wasn't just about them. They made sure that the people that worked on their cars were taken care of and included in the process. I think that, you know, your work ethic and your athletic ability will define who you are as an athlete, but I think as a coach, as an owner, as a brand, you want to look for those intangible things. Does someone have a good attitude? Are they, you know, if you're a brand ambassador, you need to be connecting with the consumer, the customer. Are you going to stay behind and have a conversation? You're going to shake hands, you're going to have an autograph? You know, how is this individual going to be representing my brand? So I think all those intangibles, and I'd love to hear your perspective. You know, you may find some athletes that may not be the biggest superstars on the field of play that have the biggest brand deals because they resonate with companies and fans.
Yeah, we call them transferable skills, right? That's what you're talking about. And basketball taught me tremendous life lessons, right? I don't care how fast you run, how high you jump. Can you listen at a high level, right? Can you sit down and be able to grasp information and then process information? Can you have a great attitude when things are not going your way, right? That is one of the most difficult things to do, is try to stay positive, have a great mindset when things aren't going your way. Because I firmly believe if you have a positive mindset, positive things happen for you, right? You have a negative mindset, you don't get the best out of you. Then work, you know, what type of work are we putting in? We discussed that as well. It's incredibly important. And to your point, people, they grasp hold of it, they gravitate towards that. When you get into certain areas, go in and shake a hand, go in and get out of your comfort zone to some degree. My mother can't believe that I am in the role that I'm in now because I was a quiet, kept to myself type of a kid unless I was around people that I knew, liked, and had fun with. Other than that, I just kept to myself, right? So the fact that I sit down with someone who's 65 and talk about investments right now, her head is ready to pop off her shoulders. When she sees me on TV, I do some broadcast work with the Pacers, she sees me doing that, she's like, I don't know who this kid is. Because I was able to make that adjustment in my adult life. But the sooner you get to a place where you can be really comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And really get out of that zone and try to that zone of discomfort, right? It's just repetition, just like anything else. The more reps you get at something, the more confidence you have in it, and the better you are at it.
One thing I would say, don't forget, is your appearance. How you look, how you act, because everybody is watching. As an athlete, you already know you're looked at always in the lens. And they have people that's scouring your social media every single day. All right, every single day. So your appearance, how you're engaging, what you're posting, your emotional intelligence, those are also important as character traits that we look at. Definitely the coachability. So we're always going to talk to the coach. We're going to involve the coach in the process because he's with you every single day. All right, so it's important that you are coachable and the coach can back that up. So it's definitely important.
And knowing that we have the IPS athletic director in the back there, what part do schools play in the agreements? Like Coach Moore was saying, what if Nike is approaching an athlete? How does the school district work with that athlete? How does that work? And that might be for you, Robert, what that would look like.
Yeah, that agreement is between the athlete and the person that they're representing. The coaches just need to be aware of that. And again, we talk about representation. There may be something in there that coach needs to be aware of that, you know, this kid's got to wear the Nikes and they can't wear the team shoe if the team shoes Adidas. And so those are the kind of things that the coach has to navigate, and even if they want to permit. But this is something very, very new. We're going to have to work through it. But we need to be apprised. And I say we, I mean IHSAA needs to be apprised of when those agreements come through. And we can take a look at them and be able to discern which is good, which are good, and which are bad. We're not going to say, we don't have the capacity to say yea or nay if there's a contract. But we can say what we think works best for high school students, what works best for all of us with respect to all of our 412 member schools and the 160,000 kids that play sports in the state of Indiana. It's very inequitable for everyone else. It's something that we see is going to be harmful for other kids and specifically this kid. So again, this is very, very new. It's going to take us a while to get some semblance of control over it if we do get control. But the biggest thing that schools have to do is just be aware and just be responsive to parents and students with respect to their agreements and their ability to benefit from their personal brand.
And then based on that, what support is out there from the IHSAA? I mean, is there like a hotline or, I might get into
Yeah, don't call me. It'll be 160,000 calls. No, we do have a one-pager on our website that just gives the brass tacks of our PBA, personal branding activities. And it basically tells what you can and cannot do. And anything beyond that, as athletes, as coaches, as schools, if you can't get an answer locally, then have someone from the school or the coach call us and we can walk through. Everyone's going to be different. I know a couple of years ago we had a basketball player up in Hamilton County. They were endorsing a Pokeball store. And I didn't know what a Pokeball was until my son told me. But, and that was kind of the beginning of this whole infiltration into the high school space. And it's certainly, you should be able to take advantage of someone wanting to say, hey, think about this. My son did a Papa John's commercial with Tony Dungy when he was young. And he was a soccer player, very good soccer player. And he, had we known what we know now, we may have been a little bit leery of him being able to get paid for that commercial and all the modeling he did, with the understanding that this may have jeopardized his amateur eligibility as a soccer player. It didn't. And at the same time, you are who you are as high school students. You play sports because you want to. And that being able to play sports has some eligibility requirements of it. Those eligibility requirements should not make you not be able to be who you are. And I want to go back to a question that you want to be positive. One of the biggest things that I see as a former high school athlete, former high school coach, teacher, principal, is a lot of times that athletic setting is the best classroom you have in your life. And I'll be very personal in saying this. I don't remember algebra class in the 10th grade. I couldn't. But I tell you what, every bus ride on Friday night going to and coming back from a game was impactful on my life. 2-a-day football practices, when you had to, in that second practice, had to put on wet equipment and go back out there, was impactful. Having a coach jack you up because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing was impactful. All right? There's a lesson learned. Sometimes when people are mean to you, they love you, and they're doing it for a reason. Those are lessons you learn in athletics. You're not going to learn in the algebra class. You're not going to learn in U.S. history class. And a lot of those skills that Eddie talked about a little bit more, you're not going to get those other than at football practice, at basketball practice, at track practice, showing up every day, doing your job, putting in the work, which is more important than anything else. If you're not there and you're not working, you're not valuable. You don't have to be the best player to be a leader on the team. You can set the tone, you can set the culture, you can be responsible for your teammates and not be the best player on the team. People will follow you if you're doing things the right way. Those are the things that are the best things about high school sports. That's absolutely the best thing about you being able to sit in this room here and be able to play sports in high school. And 40 years later, you'll think back and say, well, that was probably one of the best things I ever did. And you have that opportunity now. We talked about getting to do this from 15 to 25. I'm telling you, that 10 years will go like that. And then if you've not used that opportunity to do what you can to be the best you can, the next 25 years might be a little bit more difficult than what they could have been if you do your work right now. Sorry to preach.
It took me back, because I'm a former Division I basketball player, and time management was the one thing I had learned, because we had the two-a-day, so I had to make sure I had my outfit out and my hair was going to be done after my purse, time management. I know this is a little different, but I want to speak to the transfer portal. And the reason I wanted to kind of tap into that is because, like you were saying, you can't just give up. Not saying that people in the portal are giving up, but there are some times where things are challenging or hard. What are the pros and cons of the transfer portal? And I'll leave that open to anyone who wants to tackle that.
That's a big one. I think I'll relate it into high school. All right, so the numbers are lowering, all right, for high school recruits coming right out playing that Division I. The statistics show it trend over a year, all right? It's much more beneficial for a college coach or a college program to already get some athletes that have been playing 2 to 3 years already at the collegiate level, all right? So that's okay, because what that does open up for you is you see other opportunities. Everybody is always fixated, Division I this, Division I that, Division I that. You can get an education anywhere. Your sport is not going to be forever. So NAIA, whether it's JUCO, whether it's playing for an FCS program, are great opportunities. And make sure when you do enter that transfer portal that you have a landing spot. Because one of the gaps we're trying to solve is to make sure that all those athletes that stay in there, that they don't die in the portal and don't end up back in the program. All right, so it's important entering that portal. You got to tie in the education aspect with the athletic aspect, because it's important to tie that together. Otherwise, a lot of athletes won't get another opportunity in college.
Coach, just to piggyback with you, hey, knucklehead, come, listen, guys. There ain't a lot of guys getting recruited. These guys get on my nerve with, oh, he got an offer. I didn't get an offer. Let these guys understand that these offers are not what they think they are. Just because Joe Blow over here with a 2.1 GPA, because he can run a 4.5, got an offer from that, don't really mean that's an offer. And these guys get so, what you said was very important. NAIA, we got a kid playing wild back, she's loving it. He gonna make $1 million one day, I hope. But he was so caught up on so-and-so got an offer, so-and-so got an offer. Could you explain to them that the offers ain't what they think they are?
They are not. You got this 5 for 5, all these college changing rules. When you look at a scholarship, a lot of times those offers, you might think it's a 4-year, but it might be a 1 year. If you don't perform, goodbye. And you might be gone after the first semester. But a lot of those scholarships are not forever. And they come, I'll tell you right now, especially with NIL involved, as in you got general managers, all right, in college. It is the task of that general manager to look at each athlete dollar amount and value. If you don't have the brand presence on social media, the athletic abilities to succeed right now, not 2 years later, all right, then you are falling down that totem pole. So it's important to look at scholarship opportunities across the board, like you're talking about. NIA is a great opportunity. They're also the first movers of the NIL, not the NCAA. I can go on about that forever, but it's definitely important to keep an open mind throughout the process, because not all those scholarships are what it's about.
Coach, I want to piggyback on that. So my college roommate is a head basketball coach at Dillard, and he's out here recruiting now. He is looking for athletes that have great grades, so that part of the offer is an academic scholarship, because the budgets are what you think they are. So people are piecing together these opportunities. And let me just say this to you. This family here, our kids played football against one another, and they've gone on to do great things. My son's a lawyer. He worked on the Seattle Seahawks deal. He played football at Notre Dame. Their kid was way more successful than my kid, but that was an experience and a platform and an opportunity to set him up for the rest of his life. So, you know, so to me, it doesn't matter if it's Division 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter where it is. If you can do something that you're passionate about and you love and use that platform, if you have the athletic ability, you will find your way to athletic success. But you're setting yourself up for the next 40 years, not just the next 4 years. And so that was one of the things that I had to talk to, still have to talk to a lot of parents about, because everyone is stuck on a full ride at a Division I high-profile program. And you can go to a Division I high-profile program and never see the field. And so when you select a school, what is the experience that you actually want, and what is it? Or you can go to a school and you can be a starter playing somewhere, doing something you're passionate about, getting a great education, and that takes you to being, you know, a successful banker, down the road. So I think that, you know, if there's anything that we can do in terms of educating people about selecting where you go to school, but I will also say this, and my daughter will tell you this, I watched her volleyball team over the 4 years. The coach went from recruiting club volleyball, high school, to going to the portal. I think her senior year, I think most of the team he got out of the portal. So the portal does impact, you know, opportunities, those kind of things. Now, the last thing I will say as a positive of the portal is it's hard to make the right decision. So every decision may not be a good one, and it may not be a good fit. So having the ability to find somewhere else, but I will caution you to have a landing place, because you can give up an opportunity to be sitting out there in nowhere land and mess it up.
And Crystal, I know you're a parent. You wanted to speak on that.
As a parent of a student athlete, my son went through the transfer portal. And one thing that I liked about what he thought about in the transfer portal was like, I'm not chasing the bigger schools or the most money. I want to make sure I have a spot to go. So I was proud of him for thinking that way. Even when it came to high school and him deciding where he wanted to play, he chose Butler his first year because he knew he wanted to play, get into college and play. And he used that and leveraged it, got his playing time, even though he got injured, but he still leveraged it, got that experience, and he put him at the school that gives him, you know, not a lot of NIL money, but he does now get NIL money, and it now pays for school to where I don't have to pay anymore. So athletes you got to think bigger than just the money and the D1. You got to think, am I going to be able to play? Are they really going to give me a lot of money? Because you may go to a bigger D1 school, and you may still not get those $1 million NIL deals.
Yeah, and I think the key word you used was leverage. And also what Coach Mormon spoke to as well, because as my son is recruiting for the University of Florida, a lot of their student athletes are coming from those Division II because they have the experience. And they did pull from the portal as well. So I just want to speak to that as far as like your offers, and it doesn't matter where you're going. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to speak from a parent perspective, an educator perspective, and I'm going to try not to take too long. I also have a college athlete who's in college. He didn't want to get in the portal. He had to get in the portal. You know, some schools have these things, especially your larger schools. And so when y'all say, everybody, I want to go D1, you want to go to who's going to show you the love. My son, D1. And he was. He had the athletic ability. He went, and we have a national championship. But however, politics come into play when you're in college. A lot of y'all don't understand that. So you need to go somewhere where you know you're going to be cherished, loved, looked at, nurtured, all the above. Don't believe everything somebody tells you. So you talked about that. These people, these coaches, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, not all the time having your best interest. And especially our boys, you all get to a point, y'all want to listen to your mamas. Listen to your mama, because you 18 and you grown and blah, blah, blah. I heard that. But at the end of the day, they have your best interest in mind. Then, so go to where your parents want you to go. Because if you don't listen a lot of times, you're going to make a mistake, and we're just going to have to be there to please you. You're not saying a mistake, a learning experience, which is going to mature you really fast. Get a financial advisor early on. If you know you're marketable right now, link up with somebody right now, an agent. You may not think you need an agent. If you are that athlete, you need an agent before you get out of high school. Take that a lesson learned, we learned it the hard way. All of y'all D1, listen, if you don't have the grades to get into college, to a D1 college, and it don't start when you're a senior in high school. It starts the minute you step foot in high school. So I told my son would get on the field if he didn't have a B or higher. He graduated with a 4.0 GPA. So if he decided not to go do sports, he could have gone to Notre Dame on an academic scholarship, or Purdue, or my alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University, on an academic scholarship. I've seen it so many times. I'm going to IU to play football. But if you don't have that foreign language, and if you don't have those math courses, guess what? You can't get into IU to do anything. So y'all, you have to get accepted to a college to play sports at a college. And that's a mistake a lot of you, and I serve a role. I'm a college and career counselor for Lawrence Township. You don't always, your counselors sometimes get busy. I'm not a guidance counselor, I'm a college and career counselor. They don't always make sure you have the right class. It's a lot. So parents, we have to be intentional about looking at our kids' transcripts, making sure they can get into IU, Ball State, North Carolina A&T State University, Notre Dame, because if they don't get accepted, I've seen it time and time again. These kids have offers but can't get into the college. So guess what? You can't go. But there is nothing wrong with D1, D2, NIL, JUCO. The transfer portal is where it's at. I'm sorry, high school athletes, I'm sorry. Colleges are not, especially your D1 colleges, they want people who have playing time, hours on the field. If you don't have that, the days of going D1, unless you're a 5-star, and some schools still look at that, you're gonna have to look at alternatives. But you take that alternative, you go to A&T, you go to Illinois State, you go to Wabash, and if you have the dream to go to, a D1, you take advantage of the opportunity that you have before you. So that's all I have to say.
Amen. Yes, sir.
We have quite a few young ladies playing flag football on their high school teams. How does this apply to them? Because that's a growing phenomenon in Marion County, and there's quite a few of them here. How does NIL, all of this apply to them as they're playing flag football? How do they leverage playing flag football to do some of the things you guys are talking about?
I would say from our standpoint, we focus a lot on women's sports, especially flag football, so there are a lot of opportunities. The NAIA, also first mover, made sure to get those scholarship opportunities for girls. Now you're seeing more opportunities come now with the NCAA and now making it an Olympic sport. It comes back to the presence, getting your name out there, attending camps and showcases, because this is a growing infrastructure. Not everything is in place. It might look like it is, but it's not. So it's important that you go to a lot of college showcases that are all over the country, get into the USA flag football events. I mean, we have the July 23rd right down the street at Grand Park, flag football event going on. So you have to make sure your name is relevant and in the picture, because as the infrastructure tries to catch up, what they're trying to do is get a lot of coaches educated and involved, because we do have a low number of coaches in that area. So as that grows, then more teams will continue to grow in infrastructure across the country. But it's important here, you got the coach backing it up with flag football, so get your name out there, talk to your coach, and make sure you attend a lot of events.
And as we close out, I just wanted to ask our panelists the same question. What is the one thing that you would do different if you could? Just anything, any area, what if you could go back? I'll start. If I could go back, I would not have signed early. I signed early at a school, and it wasn't the school for me, so I ended up changing. And grateful to God, I was able to walk on and get a scholarship at another school, but I didn't do my due diligence, so I would not sign early. I would wait, be patient, and make sure I found the school that was for me. So that's the one thing I would do different.
Can I do two things?
Yes, you can.
No, I would go back to what we talked about earlier on right now. You guys put together a great panel here together. You're looking at, there's 3 business owners here. Actually, learns the business. Darius is, Rebecca's run her own business. And essentially, Robert is to some degree responsible for a lot of what's going on here as you think about this current landscape in Indiana. So making sure you take advantage of your network and the ecosystem that you put around. Emil in the back is always talking about social capital, being able to build that out. So taking advantage of that. The other piece I would say that's incredibly important is recognizing you're your most important asset, right? So if you don't take care of you, everything goes away, right? Making sure you take care of you. The second most important asset, in my opinion, would be time, right? So but once we're done, we'll spend about an hour of this discussion. Did you value this time and take something from it? Because once that time is gone, we can't get it back, right? There's an argument that it's the most important thing. It's the one thing we can't get back. We can make money, we can get new clothes, we can get different material things. We cannot get our time back. So make sure you recognize that it's probably your second most important asset.
You hear that saying all the time, embrace the process. I think that I learned a lot of things by accident. Everything happens for a reason. If I was much more intentional when things either did or didn't go my way, if I thought about what it was I was supposed to learn from that and align that with my goals, I think that, perhaps I could have accelerated my learning curve, but even more importantly, I think I probably would have appreciated and valued the experience more if I realized that whatever's happening, it's happening for a reason.
I just go back to, again, my high school being coached and playing 3 different sports. I wish that I had been able to hear what I've been told then and not hear it 15, 20 years later. Like I said before, what your coaches and your parents and your teachers are telling you right now, on point, right now, and you need to take advantage of those opportunities and those lessons while you can before it gets too late. Fortunately, for us, I think I can say for all of us, if you didn't hear it too late, don't be one of those people that hears things too late.
I think for me, going through the process